Hi.
Hi.
So first of all, congratulations. A few words maybe. How
Uh,
how, how does it
Thank
feel?
you so much. I mean, it doesn't feel as exhilarating, I would say, since I was already expecting the result, this kind of result. So it feels normal. Yeah, it feels normal. I hope my voice is clear. And yeah, like my family is happy, but even they were like just expectant. So it's
Okay.
normal, nothing too exciting. Yes.
As in generally IELTS is considered to be the benchmark of English proficiency in our region, Punjab. So how is the
Yes.
atmosphere? How is the atmosphere around you?
Oh,
Mom, dad?
even in my city, oh, like at home.
No, no,
Okay,
no. Wait,
to
wait,
be
wait, wait,
honest,
wait, wait. I think you did not get my question. As in
okay.
after the result, as in a girl with a band 8 is I think a girl with the it's better. A girl with a band 8 is a better girl than a girl with perhaps I don't know, maybe a doctorate, perhaps, as the general case scenario is in Punjab. So, how do your parents feel right now? And your brother has also taken the exam. What was his score, if you
Yes,
may want to tell us that?
yes, 7.5
Oh,
overall. Yeah.
so fine. The female folk has gone ahead of the male folk. So,
It has always been like that in our family.
how
Yeah,
do they feel?
academically speaking.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, like again, as I just said, they were already okay. All they cared about is since like we have this unspoken like record at home. I've always been like ahead of him, although he's like really good at other things, but academically, I was always ahead of him. So this time they were like, yeah, all you gotta do is score a band above 7.5,
Okay.
and that's it for us. So I was expecting 8 and above, but I got an 8. So I'm happy with that. Yeah, like honestly, I didn't get as many calls from the relatives. I know with so many people, especially students, the relatives are always like behind them. They're always like inquiring about the result and inquiring about what coaching did you go to, and what are things you did in general to get to that band. But my relatives, uh, I mean, we have a pretty like small family, and they already knew that I was self preparing. And I did mention that I have an online tutor, but they were like, oh, you don't go to any coaching, like any specific center, like center is the term, I think. So I was like, no. And yeah, that's the trend, but it's an anomaly, I would say. Like, but they're also okay with it because
No,
they knew
okay.
I would like,
The
yes,
thing is
like
that,
they believe my case was an anomaly. Yeah.
and even if I consider my way of teaching, no, it's quite heuristic. I would not conduct the classes in the traditional way that you have to do this much of labor and this number of tests, and you'll be able to do it afterward. If you remember, we have been all perhaps, you know, there's a term called an autodidact. So I always try to make my students such people that they are able to prepare for the exam by themselves. And even if I consider you, as in I remember the first time we met was I think in 2021, in the middle of that year
Yes.
perhaps, or maybe toward
Yes.
the perhaps
End of the year.
toward the end of the year, and a friend of mine had given you my contact or something. So I was
Yes.
teaching at a center only at that point, and i
Okay.
was uh, I got your call that you wanted to prepare for the exam from me, and we started the thing. And I think on the second day only I told you that you would get a band 8, perhaps, in or a band 7.5 in the worst case scenario, and it can go to a band 8.5 also. So speaking was already a done and dusted case, I would say. And so was the case with reading and listening. You were able to master them. I think in the fourth or the fifth class, you had gotten the hang of them. Then came a
Yes.
break. We took a hiatus because you were busy with your exams. And I think, how long did that last? The hiatus?
It was like 4 to 5 months because it was November 2021, and then it's like almost Jan. Yeah, almost Jan 2022. So it's more than, wait, 6 months, more than
It's
6 months. Yeah.
August, ma'am.
Okay, it's August, but we met, like, I reconnected with you in June, na? So yeah,
Yeah,
it's August, but then I've also been preparing for this month. That's too on and off, because to be honest, I had like serious preparation of only just 15 days. I'm not
yeah.
exaggerating, like just 15 days.
No,
And
no.
that too, I only did mock tests. I didn't, and of course, like, yeah, besides watching your videos, I only did mock tests. And I think I must have done around 15 of mock tests only, because in that 15 uh, days, I could only do like 15 mock tests. And I think that's also too much. Like, I don't recommend anybody doing 15 mock tests. But okay, I like, that's because I have a little bit of, uh, there's also a term for it. There's something called imposter syndrome. Like, I don't know if you're aware, but
I,
it's something when someone's like undermines. Yes. So I have that feeling all the time. So which is why I just went overboard with it. And nobody should do 15 mock tests. I think 5 is enough, or
yeah.
even 10. 10 is also too much. 6, 7, 8, like, depends on your level
Mock
also. If you think
mock
you're too much.
tests. Okay. Mock tests. I think five are enough. The thing with you, Jasmine, is that you were very good at English even when you came to me. Um, I remember the first conversation between us, and I thought I was talking to a professional. Though it's not the only benchmark in life, but still you have to have something to be able to speak English. And maybe people can say English is not the only thing. You should not be proud of knowing a language, but knowing a language took us about 12 years, maybe more than that.
Yes.
So we are proud of our hard work, and we don't say that it's the only thing, it's the touchstone or whatever. But still, even if you're not getting blotted because of your maybe talent, you cannot but you know denigrate yourself for it. You have to appreciate your hard work, and we you know put in our efforts to be able to speak something that is perhaps hailed in India. So how was your journey like? When do you think you started getting serious in this regard? Like, when did English happen or start to happen?
Okay. Yeah, to be honest, I have no idea. And there was never like, uh, you know, uh, I just wake up and decide, oh, today is the day I'm going to start learning English. And I never even, like, when I even started learning, I don't like the term learning. I just like started speaking, and it was fun. And I never like learned it for the sake of, oh, like 10 years down the line I'm going to write an exam and I should start preparing for it. Like, that's so stupid. But back then I didn't like start learning, but what I just started doing was watching news in English, reading English newspaper. So I was like always very curious and very interested in just learning things around the world. So I always like apprise myself of the news around, and that I began to do in English. So watching English, I can even like, okay, there's I don't know if I can take names of channels like where I started to learn from, if I can do that.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, even okay, today I watched news, and there's Beyond News, World is One, and yeah, there. I mean, it's an Indian news channel, but obviously it's for the world. The very name says World is One, so they mostly like the news is in English. I think it's like a branch. Like they also have the same channel, but with like a different language. But I only went with the English channel since the beginning. So that was one thing. And news, like any English news, I don't even know. Like I
Okay.
know the Tribune. Yeah, so that. And also the most important part would be I started conversing in English at a very young age, and even at home we would converse in English sometimes,
Yeah,
even though
so
like my mom, she's not.
let me
Yeah.
interrupt you at this point because I want this thing to be the kingpin of this video. See,
Yes.
mostly I get to hear that we don't have an English atmosphere at home, so we are not able to speak English. The thing is that mine is also not at all English. My father cannot use English. My siblings cannot use English. My mother cannot use it. And still, I've been able to do something fruitful in this regard. How is the atmosphere at your place, the domestic one?
Okay, my mom, she started to learn English through Duolingo, and I recommended her that. my father, since okay, he can like he even took IELTS like years back, and although like like he didn't really do anything about the result, like he didn't go abroad or anything, he stayed in India. But I think he got a band 7 like 10 years before. But like we would I would say that just start to converse. If your parents are like open minded and they're like okay with the idea, just start conversing, even if it's broken English, like that's fine. You can teach them. In fact, I would say the best way to learn is to teach. So you can always teach your parents whenever they're making a mistake. But let's say your parents like don't even understand a word. Let's say you come from um rural, like okay, not rural, like okay,
You are not
uneducated,
offending.
not
Wait, you are not offending anyone. We are just
okay.
getting to the truth.
Yes. So let's say you come from a background where people have like don't even know the ABC of English. People can't read and write in English. Then I would say we all have phones. We all have the technology, and there are so many apps. I think Cambly is one, but that's paid. But honestly, yeah, there are apps you can always, find people who either want to just learn to like practice English in the conversation, or they're already fluent in English. So you can just start to converse with them, not with the intention that I want to learn. Just start conversing, start talking about everyday things in English. Just do it for fun, and you will always uh, you'll later on learn the fact that talking to people is more important than talking to them in English. Like just make it simple. Don't do it for the sake of learning. That
Fine.
shouldn't be your mindset. Yes.
So, Jasmine, we have all known your level, and I have always sung praises about you. Uh, I will not continue the part of how to learn English and how you became so good at it. Let's focus on something that is secondary to our learning process. There are certain factors that are not academic, but still they affect our academics, like how rich we are, how good our domestic environment is, how keen we are on learning something, how, if we need something or not. Sometimes we have to do something when we are not interested in it. And lastly, if something can happen without the interest factor. So first of all, comment on this. Do we have to have a certain kind of atmosphere for us to be able to do something, be it English or be it any perhaps skill development process?
Um, I think yes. Although like I had that, I would say, semi environment. Like it was not fully English speaking environment around me. Uh, but then I think if it's like there, you're privileged like that, so it really helps. But if not, you can always come up with ways. Okay, to be honest, me, I never like, even though I went to like a convent English speaking so-called school, but to be honest, they even speak in Punjabi, even the teachers and everybody's like that. So you can't say, okay, my child went to a sarkari school and my child didn't have that privilege. Like that's not true. Honestly, it's just your like in your head, you're just coming up with excuses, I would say, because if I can come up with ways, anybody can. And yeah, I mean, I would
Okay,
say that your biggest weapon, your biggest like, you can just use your mobile phone. There are apps, and if not, if you can't converse, just hear people converse. There's YouTube. There's simple things
fine.
you can just just surround yourself with that environment somehow. Like make that environment if it's not there already. And I wouldn't say watch English movies because I personally never did that. I'm not even a, a big fan of Hollywood movies. But don't listen to English songs. Don't listen to English movies if that's not your thing. But then just I know news was my thing. So I made use of that. You have to find your thing and then find some English way to do it. Like listen
Yeah,
to it if you can, speak in it if you can. I would say even if it's bad, don't be ashamed of speaking it because that's how you learn. So other thing could be yeah, just um I don't know. I think
I
writing
can.
comes naturally. If you can speak in
No,
it, then you
no,
can
wait.
eventually write in it as well.
I can
Yes.
add something to it, as in what you said. Do something you like in English. Like I was someone who was very interested in movies. I still am, and I used to read a lot of movie reviews and also watch the video versions. And movie reviewers in India are known for their vocabulary. If you've read any, Rajiv Masand or maybe any other Anupama Chopra. So, that is how I think my vocabulary seed was sown, because I had been reading them, and whenever you come across a word, you kind of try to find the meaning, and they sit in your brain. And that's how I became good at vocabulary, and I was praised for that. And that's how I think the motivation for learning English in general perhaps was given the impetus. I was not good at studies till my grade 7. I used to fail classes like 27% or maybe 31% and all. And I was one of the perhaps guys who would not care about anything. So things changed in my grade 8 when I started maybe topping the classes also. Um, the thing is that the English part was, you know, something that had a basis of entertainment only or interest only. I owe my English aptitude to movies a lot. Not the movies perhaps I watched, but the movies I read about, the reviews and all. And I used to get a lot of things from them. And then I became an English teacher. I had to be superior to my contemporaries. But it is something that I can support what you said. I second that. Entertainment in English is,
Yes.
I think, English that is going to entertain the world afterward. The second thing was your perhaps financial resources. How do you think they are important?
Okay. I just had one more thing to add to that. I even used to read books, and they were not my academic books, like apart from reading books that they teach you in the class. Just books. You can find out like what's your favorite genre, and you can like if you can buy books. Honestly, that's also okay. That adds to the second part. Finance. If you can afford to buy books, because nobody likes to read online. At least that's not my thing. But yes, finances matter to some extent. Like if you can afford to like buy books, and if you can afford to go to the library, because it's like interconnected to the like somehow interconnected, because even education people need ways to like access. So if you can have an access to a library, and you've always been a curious kid, you're an intelligent kid, but let's say you were like sort of deprived of that opportunity, that's going to impact in the long run. Like you don't realize it, but that's going to have an impact. So it really matters. But at the same time, that kid, if he or she like can't afford to buy books, I would say that newspapers, they're a lot cheaper compared to books, and you can get them like weekly, if not every day. So just start reading newspapers if you cannot afford, like if you cannot afford like uh, a bigger thing, like then start with something smaller, something within your budget, I would say. So
Okay,
yeah, finances would matter, but it is nothing you like. There's nothing that could stop you if you have the will. Yes.
fine. I could notice something in your answer. There was this adjective, curious. Now, curiosity is something that I think is more important than the finances, because most IELTS students are very rich, as in the
Yes,
village
that's
crowd,
true.
mostly because they pay for their tuition classes, and they pay hefty amounts. So I don't think finances for some or for many are the problem, but the curiosity factor. Why do you think curiosity is needed, and do you think Punjabi students are curious enough? I'm talking about the majority.
Um, yeah, majority. You know what? I would say that Punjabi people, especially they're very artsy people. They love art, and they're also very talented. And in the sense that it's just that we have not been guided in the right direction. Like our minds, they have been tampered. Like we were not born like that. We absolutely not like that. And you can honestly just read into the history of some Punjabi. We have so many great writers, Kushwant Singh being one of them. We have so many great poets. Although like they don't write in English, but we're talking about the curiosity factor here, and the emotional like intelligence factor. So it's definitely, you should never like let that weigh you down, because just look at your history and you will find great people. But like today, talking about the today scenario, yes, I would say that um, majority people, like majority students my age, they're not curious towards like learning, because again that's also the environment they've been brought up with. They don't look at English as something, they can be curious about. They can be just curious about learning. They look at it from a very exam perspective. So yeah, majority people look at it from the exam perspective, which is messed up for so many reasons. Yeah, I would say that's right. uh
Okay.
that's right.
The thing I think is the reason for the downfall that most students see is the bad guidance first of all, which is then accentuated by the domestic atmosphere. The thing is that most IELTS teachers in India and especially in Punjab are bad. Uh, they do not know the craft and they do not have the right amount of English. And what happens is that when a student fails after having paid so much for an exam and for its coaching, the domestic factor comes into the picture when the parents are also then forcing the student for having failed the exam, and the criticisms, the kinds of things parents would say, and especially the poor ones, you cannot take this exam, you are not able to do it, and the depression starts. I think the negativity then, makes the students a bit unnerved. Why a bit? A tad bit unnerved, and they would want to do the thing very fast. Now they have been given the wrong guidance, and now they want to hasten the process. Nothing of that sort is going to lead to something fruitful because you do not have something. On top of that, you have become hasty also. So you're having a double whammy. Now you are not able to do anything. You want to have something in the 1 month that you have paid for, and you are not ready to work hard. And even when you have had this kind of depression, no, self study becomes a kind of maybe fantasy, because you do not study at all. You, after the class, you get into your mental scenarios. You kind of keep criticizing the people around you, kind of keep mulling over your failure. You kind of keep hoping for the best and not doing anything for it. And as I always say, which hurts people a lot, you kind of depend on God, which is, I think, a hindrance to development. Because you know admit it or not, we, okay, especially I, when I was religious, I used to become lazy when I could give something to God to perform. As in, I had even if I would not want to admit it at that point, I would still depend on God to an unreasonable extent, because there used to be that hope that God is going to do this. But I would not make an effort. And that lack of making an effort is something that adds to the failures again. And the cycle continues. You are not able to, the cycle continues itself, and you are not able to pass the exam in 2, 3, or maybe 5 attempts. I read some comments on my Josh Talk video like, sir, it's been about 5 attempts and I'm unable to pass the reading test. Reading test is all in your brain. You have to prepare yourself for it. A teacher can only explain the concept, perhaps how you should approach, and that also should. There can be other ways also. So you have to learn English by yourself to be able to pass the reading test. It is very, very self dependent. So since you do not have the energy to prepare yourself for the exam, since you are mulling over your past experiences, since your parents are not on your side, and since you still have not gotten the right guide, nothing is going to transpire, nothing is going to happen that is going to take you to Canada. And that is how the industry, the IELTS industry now is perhaps, you know given that bad image. It's all a business. I think everything is a business. Even if you're selling food, it's a business. So this business has been uh, given the wrong tag because of the uh, living practices, the expectations, the false hopes, and the bad teachers. Can you suggest a solution? If you agree with me, you can disagree with me. That's a very right thing to do, I would say.
Okay. uh, to be honest, I wasn't even Again, now this could be coming from a very like privileged perspective. I never knew this was so bad because um, I mean that I can say that, you know, my parents, they were like not like other parents who would, you know, want their kids to be fluent in English, and that would like something they would be uh, proud of. Like you can be proud, but you know, they're like it's their holy grail. Nothing's more important than that. So with that, there was never an atmosphere at my home, and that's not something I can personally relate to. But I can imagine like a student in that mindset, um, who has had attempted the exam for like 10 times and now he's lost all hopes. I think I would say, you know, for like it doesn't matter if you're getting like, you already, if you've attempted like 5 attempts, you've already wasted enough time. So just drive that factor out of the mind and drive the exam factor out of the mind. Just drive it out. Like I don't know what it takes, but then just forget. Now, it can be hard because you're constantly surrounded by your parents. So like, why not studying for the exam? Like, but then just convince them if you can, if you can try, like if that can be possible, but then just do something which will like make you just forget that you ever you have to write this exam again in your life, and then start over, like start from scratch. Now how do you start from scratch? I would say don't like watch videos. First of all, that would be your biggest like a blunder. If you're starting to watch videos like how can I like start to learn English from scratch in like a month is too less, but then just give yourself, I would say, 3 months, you know, 3 months. And in those 3 months you're not going to, you know, back to your uh, I know school books that like teach you the basic ABC and the grammar of English. Don't even run behind those things. Start to do what you like. Again, this is how you learn English, and we've discussed that. Just learn what you like, and start to like do that in an English way somehow. And if not, I would say just start reading books. Now, if you're not interested in reading books, start watching podcasts. If you're like too busy, you can just watch podcasts. Like you only have to like listen people talk. You don't even have to watch them. If you can't, if you're not interested in listening, because and a lot of people they have like, I know, ADHD issues. They have a hard time concentrating, and our generation, I think we are like that, and especially social media has like already made it worse. But just try to like calm it. I don't know, meditate, but whatever it takes for you to just sit for
Okay,
an hour and concentrate on something which is in. Yeah.
I
Okay, you're
I
gonna add something.
I would not say
Okay.
you are privileged, but I would say you are lucky to have educated parents and parents who are very perhaps supportive. The thing is that much as I agree with you on what you have said, these things are not possible unless you become realistic. More than the atmosphere, it is the indignation inside us that does not let us become better. Like we think that we are entitled to things. We, are dependent on our parents and the mystical, and if something doesn't happen, we kind of internally become um, we become full of resentment that oh, I you have not done this for me, and that feeling of sullenness doesn't let us grow. All the realistic individuals in the world have never supported depending on anyone, be it real or the abstract. So first of all, you have to eliminate the dependence, and that is not there in many of the Punjabi students. The one factor they rely on is the parents, and the second is the god, uh, practices and all. You have to be very much on your own to be able to do something. And if you don't become realistic, if you do not come to terms with the fact that no mystical force is going to do anything for you, and so is the case with your parents, they have limitations, they are not, and they are the victims of the same kinds of beliefs as you are. So you have to you know bring in a kind of revolution to be revolutionary. And as I say in my mind to motivate myself, that revolution precedes evolution. If you are not able to come to terms with the fact that you have to do something, or you have to do something extraordinary to change the state of affairs, you can't do anything if the things are not smooth right now. I will not take this topic to a longer extent, because a larger extent, I would say, because it is going to have so many layers that we will be talking throughout the day, perhaps. In the last section, I would want you to tell me three of my limitations and one of the good points about my classes. And be very objective. I would give you 30 seconds to think it through. Three
Okay.
negatives and
Three
one positive.
from three.
So disadvantages outweigh the advantages for sure. So
Okay. I have to think hard. But I can't really come up with the negatives. I'm thinking of the negatives first because positive you can just come up with.
yeah,
Mm, yeah, of course.
and even if I don't have a positive, it's okay. I
Mm.
I believe I think pain is the biggest weapon I have had. So make it painful for me.
Okay. Negatives. Hmm.
Okay, start.
I'm still thinking. Okay, let's make it impromptu. Um, okay. I know we've not done many in-person classes to be honest. It was like 8 months back, and I don't even have many. I can't even recall much of that. Yeah, but we've not had many in-person classes.
Okay, butter me up
Mm.
then.
No, I can. I still want to come up with at least one negative that you can
Yeah.
probably work on. Yeah. I don't know. Probably I would say that I don't know if you like do it. Maybe you do it already, but I would say if you can do this, like just I know you're very good at teaching, but especially when it comes to a subject like English, I honestly can't relate to the teaching part because I've never had that atmosphere of learning and teaching English. Like, so I would say just if it is possible, like make your students talk in English. Like, just make them forget about the exam. Like, I know some people they are in such hurry that we want to conquer the exam in a month, so just teach us everything. But just give them like this is something you can like tell them that like don't really just forget that you have to write an exam and maybe make English like make learning fun for them by making them maybe like talk in English to each other, or you can also do that. So I know that you've started this whole series where I think you only talk, and the first video was about two of your, I don't know if they're your colleagues or if they're your students, but yeah, that's a very interesting and very, I would say, you're on the right path. So just do more of that. That's the only thing I can say. Like you're already doing good, but just do more of that because that's gonna make people feel that oh, that English, it's not about just an exam. We need to be confident about speaking in English. I think speaking is the number one thing because writing eventually it's an extension. You will eventually start to write once you have the thoughts. And for me, how do thoughts come when you speak? So right now I'm speaking, so obviously I'm also forming thoughts simultaneously in my head. It's not like this is impromptu, right? So you're thinking in English, just like we talk in Punjabi. So we obviously don't. Once we can like, once we're little kids, how do little kids learn? It's not like they have a pen and paper and they're like reading grammar rules and everything. They just talk. Their mom talks to them. And how do they talk? They talk in Punjabi. So I think talking is the basic part. Make them talk in English. I don't know. That's something that would I think make a impact and make a change for good.
And another
That's
point,
also lengthy. Thing. That's the only thing I could come up with, like after thinking so long.
then praise me a little. I have not had any kind of praise in the last week,
Mm.
perhaps. So I can
Uh,
a positive thing about IELTS,
I
okay.
you're realistic, and I know you have made claims on this that are like harsh, and they're also like they're true, but it takes like guts to speak them. That to like on a public channel, so you're gutsy like that, and that's the best part I would say because you have to be fearless, and that you are. So I'm not gonna say you're a good teacher. You know you are, but there are other things to you. So
So
okay,
the
that's
the Punjabiness, perhaps.
yes. Yeah, that comes into the role. Yeah, it plays a role.
Fine. So at the end, I again would not say best of luck, all the best, and all those cliches. You have the luck with you. I would say just keep getting better at English. IELTS is not the end. I would want you to be better at this language. You know, you're already extraordinary, but I would want to see another level of extraordinary, and hope I will remain in contact with you and I will see you grow through and through. So be the just mean you are forever. Fine. Have a great life.
Okay. Okay.
See you.